Richard Lynch, and most people call me Dick, so I'm Dick Lynch, and I love APIs. Okay, one of the things that I've done all my career is enable people to communicate with each other. But for most of my career, it's been all about voice. And you don't need a lot of APIs when you're talking about voice. At least not the APIs we think about today. An API in the voice world is probably defined very differently. I think that the capability of getting applications designed and compatible with all types of network, all types of devices on that network is really critical to the advancement of the customer's world and the way that they will be using our networks in the future. The network is ready for the apps. The work that's been done on our wireless networks, particularly over the last 20 years, to go from analog to digital and higher capacity and better performance, we're really in a position now with our networks to say to the applications designers, don't worry about the network. The network you need will be there. What you need to do is worry about what your customer wants, what the consumer can do with those apps, and the network will be there to protect it, to support it, and to make it very, very friendly for the customer and for you, the developer. There's always new ways to design networks, there's always new ways to evolve networks, but I don't think the technical evolution of the network should be all that important to the design of applications today. I think that the current wireless network has become so close to a perfect IP infrastructure that app developers today ought to go after what they think they can do, and the network will be there for them. I like to think of the future network as being something different than a smartphone, but it's really the evolution of one. Think about the future network as being something that the consumer carries with them. For now, it's on their hip. Someday it may be embedded in them, but it contains the RF components, it contains a little bit of processing power, and it contains identity. And with those elements attached to the person can take advantage of any peripheral that they come in touch with. They can take advantage of the cloud where their data is stored, where many of their distributed applications might be stored. So we need to think of the network as something that is part of the person, part of their identity, part of what they carry with them. And we need to think of applications as the sidecar enablement of what they carry. I think wireless is definitely the future. Now, that isn't to say that the intermediate sections of the network from one end to the other won't be fiber, won't be microwave, won't even be old copper cables, but you as the consumer are always going to think of your network as wireless. Even if it's only the wireless endpoint, you're not going to tolerate connecting yourself to something physical. And if you're walking around with this identity module on your belt, you certainly aren't going to want to be connected. So wireless is definitely the future. There are clearly the leaders, there are clearly the laggards, but a lot of it is driven by the economic opportunity, and it's driven by the expectations of the consumer that use that network. I think that, for example, the networks that I used to build, they certainly lead the industry because the customers that I used to serve were leading, demanding, and very important parts of our network infrastructure. They were the customer that determined what I would do. There are places around the world where that's not yet the case, but I think it will be as soon as people in those network organizations understand what their customers really want. I wouldn't look at network in terms of leaders and laggards, although I always like to be the leader. I would look at networks as people who want to be responsive to what the consumer really wants to do. If an application needs a better network, that better network will come. Technology is driving the change of networks, but let me define it a little differently. The consumer defines what they want. The technology is developed to deliver what they want. The network will be there to deliver what the technology needs to deliver to the consumer.